Hello, Greg Gators. It's Mrs. Collins, and I have the wonderful task of being able to be the person who reads the final chapters of The Tale of Despero. So if you haven't done it already, go grab your book. We're about to begin, and it's best if you can all follow along and see the pictures and follow the words as we read. Are you comfy? Are you cozy? Here we go. Chapter 50. In which the princess says his name. It's a short chapter. I'm on page 258. Princess, Despero shouted. Princess, I have come to save you. The Princess P heard her name. She looked up. Despero, she whispered. And then she shouted it. Despero! Reader, nothing is sweeter in this sad world than the sound of someone you love calling your name. Nothing. For Despero, the sound was worth everything. His lost tail, his trip to the dungeon, and back out of it, and back into it again. He ran toward the princess, but Roscuro, baring his teeth, blocked the mouse's way. The princess cried, Oh no, rat, please, don't hurt him. He is my friend. Meg said, Don't worry, princess. I will save the Misi. She took the kitchen knife. She aimed to cut off the rat's head, but she missed her mark. Whoopsie, said Megariso. End of chapter 50. Chapter 51. What is that smell? Ow, screamed Roscuro. He turned to look at where his tail had been, and as he did, Despero drew his needle and placed the sharp tip of it right where the rat's heart should be. Don't move, said Despero. I will kill you. Ha ha ha, Botticelli laughed from the sidelines. Exactly. He slapped his tail on the floor in approval. Absolutely delightful. A mouse is going to kill a rat. Oh, all of this is much better than I anticipated. I love it when mice come to the dungeon. Let me see, said the other rats, pushing and shoving. Stand back, Botticelli told them, still laughing. Let the mouse do his work. Despero held the trembling needle against Roscuro's heart. The mouse knew that as a knight, it was his duty to protect the princess. But would killing the rat really make the darkness go away? Despero bowed his head ever so slightly, and as he did so, his whiskers brushed against the rat's nose. Roscuro sniffed. What is that smell? He asked. Mousy blood, shouted one rat. Blood and bones, shouted another. You're smelling tears, said Botticelli. Tears and thwarted love. Exactly, said Roscuro. And yet, there's something else. He sniffed again, and the smell of soup crashed through his soul like a great wave, bringing with it the memory of light, the chandelier, the music, the laughter, everything, all the things that were not, could never be available to him as a rat. Soup? Moaned Roscuro, and he began to cry. Boo, shouted Botticelli. Sss, hissed the other rats. Kill me, said Roscuro. He fell down before Despero. It will never work. All I wanted was some light. That is why I brought the princess here, really just for some beauty, some light of my own. Please, shouted Botticelli, do kill him. He is a miserable excuse for a rat. No, Despero, said the princess. Don't kill him. Despero lowered his needle. He turned and looked at the pea. Boo, shouted Botticelli again. Kill him, kill him. All this goodness is making me sick. I've lost my appetite. Gore, shouted Mig, waving her knife. I'll kill him. No, wait, said the princess. Roscuro, she said to the rat. What, he said, tears falling out of his eyes and creeping down his whiskers and dripping onto the dungeon floor. And then the princess. She took a deep breath and put a hand on her heart. I think, reader, that she was feeling the same thing that Despero had felt when he faced with his father begging him for forgiveness. That is, P was aware suddenly of how fragile her heart was, how much darkness was inside it, fighting always with the light. She did not like the rat. She would never like the rat, but she knew what she must do to save her own heart. And so, Here are the words that the princess spoke to her enemy. She said, "Roscuro, would you like some soup?" The rat sniffed. "Don't torment me," he said. "I promise you," said the princess, "that if you lead us out of here, I will get cook to make you some soup, and you can eat it in the banquet hall." "Speaking of eating," shouted one of the rats, "give us the mousie." "Yeah," shouted another, "hand over the mouse." "Who would want him now?" said Botticelli. "The flavor of him will be ruined. All that forgiveness and goodness. Ugh, I, for one, am leaving." "Soup in the banquet hall?" Roscuro asked the princess. "Yes," said the pea. "Really?" "Truly, I promise." "Gore," shouted Mig, "soup is illegal." "But soup is good," said Despero. "Yes," said the pea, "isn't it?" The princess bent down before the mouse. "You are my knight," she said to him, "with a shining needle. And I am so glad that you found me. Let's go upstairs. Let's eat some soup." And reader, they did. Chapter 52, Happily Ever After. But the question you wanted answered, I know, is did they live happily ever after? Yes and no. What of Roscuro? Did he live happily ever after? Well, the Princess Pea gave him free access to the upstairs of the castle, and he was allowed to go back and forth from the darkness of the dungeon to the light of the upstairs. But alas, he never really belonged in either place. The sad fate. I am afraid of those whose hearts break and then mend in crooked ways. But the rat, in seeking forgiveness, did manage to shed some small light, some happiness, into another light. How? Roscuro, reader, told the princess about the prisoner who had once owned a red tablecloth, and the princess saw to it that the prisoner was released, and Roscuro led the man up out of the dungeon and to his daughter, Miggery. Mig, as you might have guessed, did not get to be a princess, but her father, to atone for what he had done, treated her like one for the rest of his days. And what of Despero? Did he live happily ever after? Well, he did not marry the princess, if that is what you mean by happily ever after. Even in a world as strange as this one, a mouse and a princess cannot marry. But reader, they can be friends. And they were. Together they had many adventures. Those adventures, however, are another story, and this story, I'm afraid, must now draw to a close. But before you leave, reader, imagine this. Imagine an adoring king and a glowing princess, a serving girl with a crown on her head, and a rat with a spoon on his, all gathered around a table in a banquet hall. In the middle of the table, there is a great kettle of soup, sitting in the place of honor right next to the princess is a very small mouse with big ears. And peeking out from behind a dusty velvet curtain, looking in amazement at the scene before them, are four other mice. "Mon Dieu, look, look," says Antoinette. He lives, and he seems such the happy mouse." "Forgiven," whispers Lester. "Cripes," says Furlow. "Unbelievable." "Just so," says the threadmaster Hovis, smiling. Just so. And reader, it is just so, isn't it? The end. And then on the next page, after the end, is called something called Coda. Do you remember when Despero was in the dungeon, cupped in Gregory the jailer's hand, whispering a story in the old man's ear? I would like it very much if you thought of me as a mouse telling you a story. This story, with the whole of my heart, whispering it in your ear, in order to save myself from the darkness and to save you from the darkness too. Stories are light. Gregory the jailer told Despero. Reader, I hope you have found some light here. And that's the end of our story, The Tale of Despero. We hope you, boys and girls, and you, moms and dads, have enjoyed this story and the happy ending that came. Thank you.